The Vance Memorial Bridge was my masterpiece. Every beam, every cable, a testament to decades of honest work. It was more than steel and concrete, it was my name, my legacy etched against the sky. I stood on its deck, the wind a whisper of my triumph. I thought of Julian Thorne. I found him years ago, a raw talent, hungry to learn. I mentored him, taught him everything. He was like a son to me, destined to carry on my work. Bringing him onto Vance was a natural choice, a passing of the torch. We worked side by side, long nights, tough decisions. He absorbed every lesson. I trusted him completely, shared my deepest insights. Yet I sometimes saw a flicker in his eyes, a glint of ambition that felt a little too sharp, a little too personal. I dismissed it as youthful drive. Early on, small disagreements arose. Thorne would suggest cutting a corner, simplifying a test. "Faster, Chief," he'd say. I always refused. "Integrity first, Julian, always." He would nod, but the suggestions persisted, subtle at first, then more frequent. The grand unveiling neared, the city buzzed with excitement. Headlines praised the bridge, my vision, my chest swelled with pride. This was it, the culmination, all the sacrifices, all the years distilled into this magnificent structure. Then came the reports, small anomalies, a hairline crack here, a slight deflection there. Minor. The engineers said. Thorne dismissed them as settling. "Normal for a structure this size, Chief," he assured me, but a master builder feels the pulse of his creation. My unease grew. Thorne stepped forward, eager to oversee the final inspections himself. "Let me handle it, Chief. You deserve to relax, enjoy your moment." His offer seemed generous, but something in his tone, a subtle eagerness, pricked at my gut. I let him, trusting his expertise. Despite the growing knot in my stomach, the inaugural event, dignitaries, crowds, speeches, I stood on the platform, heart full. Then a low rumble, a sound I knew too well but prayed I would never hear from my own work. The bridge groaned, then shrieked. Steel twisted, concrete exploded. The Vance Memorial Bridge tore itself apart, plunging into the river below. Disbelief froze me. My masterpiece, my legacy shattered. The roar of the collapse was deafening, but the silence that followed, the stunned gasps, was worse. A cold, crushing weight settled on my chest. This wasn't just an accident. This was a personal failure, a public execution of my life's work. Chaos erupted. Sirens wailed. Through the dust and screams I saw him, Julian Thorne. He stood apart, watching. His face was unreadable, a mixture of shock and something else I couldn't quite place. A flicker of triumph, my mind reeling, refused to believe it. But the image burned into my memory, a chilling premonition. The world turned against me. News channels screamed my name. Public outrage boiled over. My legacy, once a monument of pride, became a symbol of failure. I was no longer a master builder. I was a public pariah. The formal charges came swiftly. Gross negligence. My name, once synonymous with integrity, was now dragged through the mud. Every accusation felt like a physical blow. My reputation, my very identity was destroyed. Then I saw Thorne on television. He offered his deepest condolences. He spoke of unwavering support for the victims, but I also heard him subtly question the bridge's original design integrity. His words were poison wrapped in silk. Lawsuits mounted like a tidal wave. My assets were seized. The financial ruin was complete and brutal. Decades of hard work, every penny invested in my dreams vanished. I was left with nothing but the clothes on my back and the accusations in the air. The engineering community, my peers, my friends, they all turned their backs. Phone calls went unanswered, emails ignored. They could not comprehend the scale of the failure, or perhaps they simply didn't want to. I was an outcast. I retreated to my ruined home. Day and night, I pored over every blueprint, every calculation. I reviewed every inspection report. I searched for an answer, a flaw I might have missed. My mind, a fortress of logic, demanded a reason. Then I found it. Subtle discrepancies, tiny changes in the final inspection reports signed by Thorne himself. They contradicted my own meticulous records. A cold knot formed in my stomach. This was not an accident. Thorne's rise was swift and sickening. He was appointed lead of the rescue and rebuild operation. He was taking control of my project, the very one that had destroyed me. He was building his empire on the ashes of my career. My gut instinct screamed. This was no accident. It was a deliberate act, a meticulously planned, insidious betrayal. The technical genius required to orchestrate such a failure could only belong to one man, Thorne. I watched Thorne on television, confidently outlining his plans for the new bridge. His smile, his confident voice. A cold, absolute resolve began to form within me. He would pay for this. With everything he held dear, I would see to it. My old workshop, dusty and forgotten, became my sanctuary. The world thought I was broken, but I was simply regrouping. This was where my secret war would begin. I began with the public records, the ones Thorne couldn't touch. I knew Thorne's mind, I had shaped it. His engineering style, his shortcuts, his clever solutions, I knew them all. I started to reverse engineer the collapse, not from my perspective, but from his. Accessing the full project data was a wall. My old access codes were gone. My former colleagues, now wary, avoided my calls. I was a ghost, but a ghost can still find cracks in the system. I remembered a few good men, loyal technicians who lost their jobs when Thorne took over. They were good people caught in the fallout. I decided to reach out carefully through untraceable channels. A coded message, a prearranged meeting in a neutral place. No names, no direct accusations, just a shared understanding of injustice. I asked for old files, personal copies of reports. They understood, the data trickled in. I spread it out, a vast puzzle, structural weaknesses, material fatigue, load calculations, every piece had to fit. I worked in silence, driven by a cold, burning clarity. Then I saw them, the subtle shifts, components that seemed fine on paper but were designed for delayed failure. Specific materials, compromised just enough to hold for the opening, then slowly degrade. Thorne's hand was everywhere. A sudden jolt, a unique calculation, a specific material choice, almost artistic in its deception. It was a signature. A calling card only I, his mentor, would recognize. My blood ran cold. It was Thorne mocking me. The horror of his genius applied to pure destruction gripped me. My anger, once raw, hardened into something else. A chilling, calculated determination. He had ruined my legacy. Now I would dismantle his. I needed to test the waters, to see if his new empire had vulnerabilities. I crafted a subtle, untraceable leak, a piece of obscure data planted in a forgotten online forum, a ghost of my presence, a whisper to remind him I was still here watching. The data from my loyal few was a map. I began tracing Thorne's financial moves, not just for the bridge, but years back. Every transaction, every property, every investment. I saw a hunger I had once mistaken for ambition. The deeper I dug, the clearer it became. A web of shell companies hidden behind layers of legal jargon, offshore accounts funneling profits from projects I had no knowledge of. Thorne wasn't just building, he was siphoning. Then came the rescue operation data. The costs for materials, the supply chains. They were inflated, expertly masked. Thorne was not just fixing my bridge. He was milking the disaster, turning my ruin into his personal gold mine. His financial ascent mirrored his ruthless corporate climb. I saw patterns, key personnel, talented engineers suddenly sidelined or resigning. Anyone who could challenge his narrative or expose his methods gone. He cleared his path with surgical precision. This wasn't just about money, it was about legacy. He didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to be me. Or rather, he wanted to be the new me, the master builder with my name erased from history, replaced by his own. I remembered a project manager, a sharp woman named Elena, who had abruptly left Thorne's team years ago. She was quiet, meticulous, and always seemed to hold a grudge. She would know things. I found her not through official channels, but through old contacts, a whisper in the wind. We met in a neutral cafe, a place with history. Her eyes held a weariness I recognized. She spoke of Thorne's vision, his uncompromising ambition, but also of his methods, subtle intimidation, gaslighting, isolating anyone who questioned him. He was a predator, always planning, always watching. Hearing it confirmed the methodical destruction of my career, my life's work, by the man I raised. It was a physical blow. The trust I had placed in him, the pride I felt for him, now felt like a gaping wound. He never saw me as a mentor, only an obstacle, but the pain hardened me, it fueled me. I started to build my own masterpiece, a dossier of his destruction. Every manipulated report, every financial misdeed, every act of sabotage. It was a blueprint for his downfall, meticulously crafted piece by painstaking piece. He wanted my legacy. He thought he could bury my name and build his own upon my ruins. I would give him a legacy, all right. A legacy of absolute ruin, a monument to his betrayal. It would be his name that the world remembered, synonymous with deceit and destruction. The time for quiet investigation was over. My workshop, once a place of discovery, now became my war room. I pinned Thorne's face to the wall, not out of rage, but as a constant reminder of the target. This wasn't just revenge, it was my most complex engineering project yet, one designed to dismantle a life, not build one. I analyzed Thorne's public image, his new projects, every interview he gave. He built his empire on a foundation of lies, but even the cleverest structures have stress points. His greatest vulnerability, I realized, was his inflated ego and the public trust he now commanded. He believed himself untouchable. Finding allies required immense caution. I sought out those Thorne had wronged, those who carried the sting of his betrayal. Disgruntled former employees, whistleblowers, even a few minor figures he'd pushed aside. Each contact was a risk, a carefully laid trap for information, but I knew the right words to speak, the shared wound to acknowledge. My strategy began to take shape, a multi-pronged attack mirroring his own insidious methods. Financial sabotage, reputational destruction, and eventually the structural exposure of his current projects. He used engineering to destroy me. I would use it to unravel him. Every piece had to fit perfectly, a cascade of calculated failures. To protect my nascent team and myself, I built a secure network. Encrypted channels, untraceable IPs, dead drops for sensitive data. No digital footprint would lead back to me. This was a ghost operation, precise and silent, moving through the shadows of the internet beyond Thorne's reach. My focus narrowed to Thorne's new signature project, the Thorne Bridge. I acquired every blueprint, every material specification, every inspection report. I searched for the subtle tells, the hidden compromises I knew he would employ. My goal was not to destroy his bridge, but to legally expose its inherent flaws, to reveal the fraud before it could claim more lives. I needed to plant seeds of doubt. I found a small, independent journalist, known for her integrity and tenacity. Anonymously, I fed her obscure pieces of information, just enough to pique her curiosity about Thorne's rapid rise and his project's true costs. A whisper in the wind, designed to grow into a storm. This path was a heavy burden. The ghost of my ruined bridge haunted my waking hours, and Thorne's smug face, forever etched in my memory, fueled a cold, relentless resolve. There was no turning back. The cost was immense, but the price of inaction, of letting his betrayal stand, was far greater. I meticulously outlined the sequence of events, a complex dance of legal challenges, media leaks, and technical revelations. Each step had to build upon the last, an undeniable narrative of deceit. The climax would be a public revelation so thorough and devastating that Thorne's empire would crumble under its own weight. My first move, a seemingly innocuous challenge to one of Thorne's smaller project bids. Not a direct attack, but a subtle, legal inquiry into his firm's past performance on a minor contract. A single, almost invisible thread pulled, designed to unravel his carefully woven tapestry, a seed of doubt planted in the fertile ground of his flourishing empire. My plan was now a living thing, a shadow reaching out. Each move was subtle, designed to be untraceable, a whisper of doubt rather than a roar of accusation. Thorne's empire, built on my ruin, would begin to feel the tremors. The first tremor hit. Anonymous tips, carefully planted, led to an unexpected audit of one of Thorne's new acquisitions. I watched from afar as the news broke, causing immediate delays and a fresh wave of scrutiny for his company. Next, I targeted his supply chains. A minor project, nothing critical, but enough to cause costly material shortages. Small delays, embarrassing setbacks. Each incident, seemingly isolated, chipped away at his firm's efficiency and reputation. Then came the discovery of a minor design flaw in one of his less critical buildings. It was a small detail, easily overlooked, but for those who remembered, it echoed the very issues that had plagued my bridge. Eyebrows were raised. Thorne at first dismissed these events as bad luck. Minor glitches, he called them. I saw his public statements, heard his confident tone. He was too arrogant to see the pattern, too focused on his own glory to notice the subtle unraveling. But the coincidences accumulated. I could see the change. His public speaking became strained. His decisions, once sharp, now carried a hint of hesitation. The seeds of paranoia had taken root. He was looking over his shoulder. My team, a network of ghosts, began to work. Questions about Thorne's unprecedented rise and past project failures started appearing in industry forums and online discussions. Just questions, innocent enough, but designed to spark curiosity. Soon, a public debate began to brew, not about my bridge, but about the long-term viability of Thorne's signature engineering techniques. His methods, once praised, were now under quiet yet intense scrutiny. The pressure mounted and Thorne cracked. He made a public blunder, lashing out at his critics during a press conference. His carefully constructed image of calm confidence shattered, revealing the anger beneath. My final move for this phase: an anonymous email to a key investor. A single coded phrase, a cold whisper in the dark, implying a deep personal knowledge of Thorne's vulnerabilities. Are your foundations truly secure, Julian? The hour had arrived. I sat in my makeshift control room, the culmination of years of quiet work. Thorne's celebratory gala, meant to crown his empire, would instead become its tomb. My finger hovered over the send command. A single action to unleash a meticulously crafted storm. With a deep breath, I gave the signal. Across the secure network, my small, loyal team acted in unison. The evidence, painstakingly gathered and verified, flooded the inboxes of every major news outlet, every relevant regulatory body. The truth was now out of my hands, a missile launched. Reports of the exposé hit almost instantly. The news channels, initially cautious, quickly escalated their coverage. Headlines screamed about systematic sabotage, manipulated inspection reports, and Thorne's illicit financial gains from the rescue operation. The world was beginning to see the monster I knew. Thorne's gala, a monument to his hubris, became a scene of pure chaos. Live on national television, his carefully constructed facade crumbled. I watched as his confident smile vanished, replaced by a look of disbelief and then pure terror. The world was witnessing his downfall in real time. The regulatory bodies moved swiftly. Announcements of immediate investigations into Thorne's company and personal finances followed. Assets were frozen. The financial empire he had built on my ruin began to dissolve piece by agonizing piece. Emboldened by the public exposé, witnesses I had cultivated, and many I hadn't even known, began to come forward. Their damning testimonies against Thorne piled up, adding weight to the already overwhelming evidence. The dam had broken. Slowly, agonizingly, my name began to be cleared. The truth about the Vance Memorial Bridge collapse, the insidious sabotage, Thorne's calculated deceit, it all came to light. The whispers of negligence were replaced by murmurs of vindication. Thorne faced public condemnation, financial ruin, and legal prosecution. His empire, once so formidable, collapsed spectacularly around him. The master manipulator was finally cornered, his ambition devouring him whole. I witnessed Thorne's public disgrace from a distance, a complex mix of vindication, sorrow, and the lingering scars of my own ordeal washed over me. Justice was served, but the cost had been immense, a part of me forever changed. My original legacy project could not be rebuilt as it was, but my name was restored, my honor reclaimed. I stood, a master builder once more, looking towards a future built on truth and integrity. I had paid an unbearable price, but I was still here, forever watchful, forever building, but with eyes wide open to the shadows that ambition can cast.